There's this other technique and that I started to play around with. I think I first saw it modeled in a debate between Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris. And it's called steel manning. So it's sort of the opposite of straw manning.
Yeah. Straw manning's a great idea.
Yeah. It's like basically instead of, listening to someone's point of view and forming a rebuttal the whole time in your head to counterpoint that argument, you actually listen to understand.
Yeah.
You don't listen to respond. You listen to understand. And then when you do respond, what you're doing is you're actually regurgitating or reiterating the best parts of your opponent's argument.
Yeah.
So, and it's an amazing technique because you really do have to, put down your biases for a moment. But also it often fortifies your own position because you have to consider the best parts of someone else's position. And so, and then of course there's the opportunity for some form of moderation in your own position there. So, just can you imagine if we could model that such that they adopted this on Capitol Hill or something where it's like, they're debating. I mean, they're not even debating really anymore in our public square. There's just no room for it. Everyone's just speaking over and screaming over each other and looking down their own nose at, with moral indignation at the other side. And, but there's so many issues that could benefit from it: abortion, immigration, et cetera. So, so these are very, I think, worthwhile techniques.
There's a quote I pulled up from Martin Luther King because I always say it wrong. And this is actually totally different than what I thought it was, but this is what I found. Said that you have very little morally persuasive power with people who can feel your underlying contempt. So if you're having a conversation and you're not starting with connection, you're still coming from a contemptuous place where it's like, I'm going to get you. There will be no conversation. Yeah. You're just going to have two monologues and you're just going to have friction and fire. And that's it. You're going to expend a bunch of energy. You're going to expend some ammunition on both sides. You're going to walk away both a little bit more like tattered and wounded. Maybe one person feels like they won. Maybe they both feel like they won. But there will be no progress. Yeah. And so if you can start from that core root place of actually alleviating yourself of contempt and opening yourself up to compassion for a person, and then it gets, hard in certain situations, such as if a person's like maybe imposing violence or they are imposing something to your child that you strongly don't align with, or, things of the like.
But, I mean, in some cases, these techniques take two to tango, right? With something like forgiveness, forgiveness in some ways can be monodirectional. Like you can have that, you can hold that power to release that anger while still holding someone accountable, et cetera. It's not reconciliation, but it's forgiveness. But in some of these cases, you really do need to find a partner. In order to make it profitable.
When do you draw? There's like, this is something that happened to me with the whole, are you allowed to say the C word, the COVID word on the internet? I don't even know. It feels so like censored and tyrannical.
You have to put like a hyphen and an asterisk in it
it's so weird, I think, which is indicative of so many things. Yeah. But that really drew up a sensation within me because typically I lean from more of the kind of pacifist, live and let live and find the middle way and, whatever. And at some point that was one of the first times in my life, at least for as far as like politics goes, where it was like, at some point you do need to draw a line in the sand and say, if you pass this line, violence or something physical, or like there's no other option other than me actually going outside. Or I might disagree with myself on this as well, but my curiosity is like, when do you draw a line in the sand and start to go outside of like the lens of a Gandhi or a Buddha? Or do you just keep on being the Buddha in all situations, no matter how terrible the violence may be around you, or the actions may be transpiring.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Aaron, I think this is one of the most difficult quandaries to untangle as a human, because, of course, you could summon all sorts of examples. What if, what if Europe and Russia and eventually the United States did not stand up to Nazi Germany and the Axis powers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At what point, is violence justified in order to achieve some sort of overarching utilitarian moral good?
Yeah. Is
And
violence, is there a space where violence is virtuous?
yeah, I mean, I think looking back at, across the annals of history, my instinct would say yes. And I think that threshold is very, very high. Um, and that's a pretty wishy-washy answer, but I think that there's a lot of gray area in that answer, because if I looked at this conflagration right now, not to just like step flatly on the third rail, but in like Israel Palestine, yes, do I believe that Israel has the right to defend itself? Sure. Do I think they would have actually been better off and maintained a moral high ground such that the world would have really, really gotten behind them had they not gone in with such an extensive ground war in Gaza? Yes, I do believe that. And I think that they, whatever, this is all Monday morning Aaron Rodgers style quarterbacking.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a place where you really need tremendous thoughtfulness and in order to make these kinds of decisions, that you really need to find that Viktor Frankl space between stimulus and response. And I get it. I mean, people do awful, awful things when they're not in a place of safety and security. So we know that just like day to day, right? In our own little petty lives. But imagine that at a grandiose scale. But still, this marks the biggest challenge for human evolution. Can we actually cultivate that space as societies, in order to make more thoughtful and compassionate decisions that have so much impact. So, yeah.